The federal government has outlined how it plans to make big tech pay for sharing Canadian journalism. The draft regulations of the Online News Act released today suggest Google and Meta could have to pay a combined $234 million to Canadian media if they want to be exempt from the act. Here with more on this story is the CBC's Marina von Stackelberg in our Ottawa studio. So, Marina, good to see you. Tell us a little bit more about these draft regulations and what they're proposing.
Yeah, so they are draft, so we are still in that draft process, so they could change. But they give us an idea as to how Ottawa expects to make these big tech companies pay for posting Canadian news media on their platforms. So who does it include? Well, the parameters that they are setting out right now is they need to make $1 billion total a year, and they have to have at least 20 million Canadian visitors a month or users. So basically, that means two companies, Google and Meta, who owns Facebook and Instagram. They make up about 80% of the digital ad revenue we see. Officials told us today in a technical briefing that the next kind of big tech company would be Bing, which is Microsoft's search engine. But we're really basically talking about two big companies here. One interesting thing that they are talking about now is exemption. So basically, ways in which these tech giants could avoid having to cut individual deals with news organizations in order to post their content. And so they have a formula for how much they think that these tech companies would have to pay in order to get an exemption. But they also specify something interesting, which is that the compensation doesn't necessarily have to be financial. And so we push them on that. What does that mean? If it doesn't have to be financial, they said it could be something like training or advertising, but again, it's really kind of gray right now. But Ottawa says that they are pushing ahead with this because more than two-thirds of Canadians now get their news online, but only about 11% of them actually pay for it.
Okay, so have we heard from Google? Have we heard from Facebook on this?
Well, throughout this whole legislation, before it even passed, we knew what Meta and Google felt. They did not like this legislation. They thought it was inherently flawed. So now in reaction to this, we've got a bit of a two different approach. For Google, they've been a little bit more cooperative. They had tested out some blocking, but they're not blocking news right now. And they say they're going to take time to assess whether these draft regulations address what they call serious and structural issues with the law. Now, Meta is a lot more intense in its response. Meta, as we know, has been blocking Canadian users from seeing news on Facebook and Instagram, and they say that these draft regulations do nothing to address what they say is a fundamental flaw with the act, and they'll keep blocking Canadians from seeing news content regardless of what these draft regulations say.
Real quick, any idea on timeline here?
Yeah, so this is a 6-month draft period. Now we head into a 30-day consultation, but this law is supposed to come into full effect with everyone following it by just before Christmas.
Wow, up against the clock, eh? Okay, Marina von Stackelberg in our Ottawa studio, thank you.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.